views expressed on this program are those of the producers and individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Sun Prairie Media Center staff, its video service providers, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Welcome to Moments of Strength. I'm your host, Mary Kaufman. In this show, we dive deep into the lives of mothers' unique journeys of parenting and personal growth. From juggling family dynamics to personal passions and career ambitions, we'll talk about challenges, triumphs, and pivotal moments that shape their lives, emphasizing the resilience and strength that comes with motherhood. Thank you for joining us. Today's guest is Colleen.
Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you.
Yes.
So you and I have known each other
A couple of years now.
been in the same vicinity a lot prior to that. But then you were taking pictures for the team for baseball. And I think that's really how we met, which is oftentimes how moms become acquainted in
Through the children.
through the children. So thank you so much for coming on the show and helping get this going. I appreciate that.
Yes, of course.
So what we'll do is we have about an hour, and what I'd like to do is get to know you a little more, and then we'll talk about parenting, challenges in parenting, how you approach that, and then also personal pursuits. So the show is aimed at being a resource for mothers who are, or aspiring mothers who are struggling or even succeeding, but just don't want to feel alone, don't want to feel like they have to create a resource if it's already out there. So let's talk about that. And then before we wrap up, I would like to know if there are any pieces of information, any suggestions or ideas that you have for moms that you want to get out there. We have about an hour, so there's probably a lot, but you know, if there's something important,
we can fill the whole hour with that.
We definitely could. If there's something important that you want to say or want to get out there to moms, we'll do that before we close. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, awesome. So tell us who you are and a little bit about you, and you can start anywhere. I always want everybody to be comfortable. You don't have to share anything, you know, that you don't want to. So
Gosh, I've got 1,000 things going on at once.
Yes, tell us
am
about them.
A mom of 3 boys. I guess that's my number one priority in life right now. They take precedence over everything. A wife to a husband who's quite busy as well. So lots to manage, lots to go on. Used to be more career oriented. Working on getting back into that someday as the kids get older.
Sure.
And just kind of going day to day. My big thing, you know, that I emphasize with my life and my kids is positivity, optimism, trying to help others as much as possible. And so it's kind of me in a nutshell, is just doing what I can to, you know, help my kids out and everyone around me to help them be the best versions of themselves.
So 3 boys.
Yes.
That's busy. I've seen your boys and met them, and they're fantastic. But they're very busy. I mean, we run into each other in multiple different arenas, really.
Yeah.
So you've got 3 boys, and now, and can you share their ages so we have an idea?
They are 11, 9, and 5.
Okay.
And we are in multiple activities year round.
Yes.
We try to stay quite busy.
And your youngest, he really is a little spitfire, and now he gets to have, he was always, you know, tagging along and in a support role, you could call it, for his brothers. But now this year, that's something new because he gets to have his own teams and his own games. And how is that going with 3?
So this year was his first year of baseball. I should preface, this is his 3rd year of hockey.
Oh, okay.
So he's been doing a little bit. We let him start slowly dabbling into his athletics and activities just because he got tired of watching Big Brothers and not being part of, our family. You know, one of the things we like to encourage in our kids is, you know, always staying active. I don't want kids who are just going to sit and be on their screen all the time. So we encourage our kids to be in some kind of activity. I don't care if it's liberal arts, if it's sports, if it's academic, some kind of activity every semester, every quarter, every season where you're involved with other children, where you're meeting friends, making friends, learning social dynamics, following rules, following directions. And so that's something we've kind of been instilling when our 11-year-old, since he was 4 and 5, was to start getting involved with different groups in the community and at school, so you're learning and growing constantly. The rule is only one at a time, hopefully, so we can have more scheduling.
Because there's 3, sure.
And our youngest kind of just got tired of watching Big Brothers when he was a little bit younger than them, so we started allowing him to slowly break into it.
Okay.
But no, he definitely is a Spitfire, and I think the world is going to he's going to take it by the reins and own it someday, because he is definitely keeping up and running it as he can, best he can right now.
You see that for sure, just at the baseball fields, and he is.
He organizes all the children and all the activities.
Yeah, and I think the adults too watch that and see how he's managing that from a young age, and everybody's on board with it, and it's great. So
it's fun.
So this aim to have your kids, be involved in something that isn't maybe screen oriented or just by themselves or on their screen. I think moms, we all have that.
Yeah.
We have that desire that we want our kids to be doing that. Sometimes they are on board, sometimes they're not. Sometimes, they just don't know because they haven't been exposed to it or something like that. So have all your kids been on board with that? I mean, is that something, it sounds like you've instilled that in them since they were young.
Yeah, the boys are all they love it. They love the opportunities. I mean, they're in 4-H, they're in hockey, they do baseball, they flag football, lacrosse, chess club, math club. They have a large variety, and actually my oldest just signed up to be backstage crew at the local middle school play. He's going to be constructing and painting. So he's kind of getting in his creative side. I think the biggest challenge of all that is for me, because it's not, they would do more if I let them.
Sure.
It's the sacrifices I've had to make to accommodate them to be able to do all that. I've had to take a step back in my career. I've had to, take some time away from even, my self-guidance, just to give them the ability to have those opportunities, knowing that I'll have the opportunity someday to come back and do what I want to do as my personal growth. But they only have such short lives as children that really is formative of how they're going to be as adults someday. So I'm hoping that it instills in them to help make them great leaders someday.
That's very important. I think, moms definitely, we have a hard time with that, I think, sometimes. You get thrown into it.
Yeah.
When you either have a child, adopt a child, however that child comes to you.
It's kind of like, here you go.
It's a little bit chaotic because maybe you haven't done it before, and so those sacrifices are very natural. But then as your kids get a little bit older and more self-sufficient, you start to think like, well, I remember, or do I remember, or how can I remember? Or so while you're in the throes of this, how do you talk to yourself, or what do you do to remember and sort of cling to that and maybe not lose that, but know?
It's hard. I mean, I'll be honest, and not all moms can or want to make the sacrifices. I have a lot of moms that come to me all the time like, I don't know how you do it, or when do you take you time, or I wish I had the ability to do that. And truly, we all do, but everybody has different priorities, Some moms, I look at the moms who are very career focused out there earning, running companies, and I say, gosh, I wish I had the ability to do that. I do. I used to be able to do stuff like that, but that didn't work for my family. I look at the moms who are out running marathons, and I say, I wish I had the time to do that. I would, or who was at the gym, but I chose to, put my efforts and my energy elsewhere. I think it's just, management of it. It's a chaotic schedule. There's, and sometimes some days are easier than others. Some days you got to say, you know what, kids, we're going to take a break. Mom is hitting the red zone, or I'm overstimulated today. I just need a break from, things. I need to go to my room. But it's figuring out, where are your priorities, and, how are you going to make that happen? Which isn't always easy.
It is not easy. And everybody has different priorities too. Marathon running is noble, and oftentimes kids are included in that too, But that is a huge commitment. It's a time commitment and a sacrifice by your family, and just trying to balance it all and do it all right it's
hard.
It is really hard. And a day-to-day struggle.
Yeah.
You know, what works today might
Isn't
not
gonna
work
work,
tomorrow or a week from now. And so that constant just adjustment and having your finger on the pulse of what's happening. So before you were in this with kids, can we talk about what you were doing then?
So before having children, many, many moons ago, I had worked as a graphic designer and then decided I needed something a different type of challenge. So I went to law school and I worked as an attorney for a while, representing school districts and cities and counties.
Oh, interesting.
So I did a lot of the public sector, some private sector. I was a management attorney. I did transactional law. And then kind of got married while I was the back half of law school, and 2 years out, I got pregnant with our oldest and tried to manage all that, tried to, be the big job and running, doing the big fitness things and running the half marathons and having the family. And
yeah, even with this
it tapped
baby.
me out.
It
Tapped me out. That's when I had to realize,
that is a lot.
I can't do it all. I had to, reroute, rechange things, and once in a while, little peaks will come in. A couple years ago, I ran over the course of a couple of years, did a couple half marathons, and I've taken on different work adventures and stuff. But it's, you just gotta, it's a sacrifice. You got to give and take when you can, and kind of feel out what's best for you and your family. And
and sometimes, when we talk about not forgetting who we were, it doesn't mean you have to go back and do the things you did.
No.
It's just who you were while you were doing those things. So maybe you were running half marathons, and maybe you would never do that again.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
you
don't
would.
know if my old lady knees will
But you know
allow
what I'm
me
saying?
to do quite that distance anymore.
Yes, but the things that you learned and the growth that you had doing that, those are all part of who you are now and can be transitioned to whatever you decide to do, or even in your parenting role too.
Well, and to be honest, I think the experiences that you're going through now as a mom and raising your kids and, finding yourself again is going to, impact, because the things I used to do, if I went back and did them, I don't think I would do the same. I think I would change it, and, my perception of, what's important to me has changed. And I think moving forward, it's definitely going to be a different person coming out of it, and I hope a better person.
Well, it's hard to learn things and then go back and do the way you
It
used
is.
to.
It really
It's really, a lot of times know better, do better, or be stronger, or things like that.
And that's what we try to, help instill in the kids too, is, things are going to change, and it's how you respond to that and react to that and adapt to it is what's going to make you a better person in the long run.
Yeah, and a lot of that you can learn through sports, or, chess. We were at a chess.
Oh yeah, the chess
tournament on Saturday.
Those are so interesting.
And, even, I think we're more accustomed to being at athletic activities. At least I am with my kids. But then, my son was interested in chess, and this is a whole different scene.
Really good too.
But yeah, thanks. Yeah, he's hard on himself, so he likes to do better, but he did improve from the last time. That's another thing we talk about. It's you against you. So yes, there are a lot of people here. We had this conversation on the way home because he was feeling discouraged.
Yeah.
That he only won 3 and lost 2 matches. But that was an improvement over his tournament prior.
Yeah.
And the discussion was, listen, there's so many things out of your control there. So you can't control how much training the other kids are having. This could be the thing they do all the time. His little friend that went with him, he was like, man, I grind on chess.com all the time. It's like, you don't do that. So you have to be confident in the time you have spent, the training you have done, how you have prioritized this. He's involved in 3 other sports that is really year-round in some capacity. And so having realistic expectations. Did you improve over your last performance? That's a great way to measure. And he was matched up appropriately because many of the kids in his age group had similar ratings or whatever. So those conversations are just so important with the kids when they're involved in these things too.
A very similar conversation we had. My 11-year-old left, and it was his first chess tournament, and he was crushed. He went in there. Our middle son has been doing chess tournaments for a year. That was his 6th or 7th tournament.
Yes.
And he's done training with, master candidates. He's done chess clubs. He's put in a lot of work.
Right.
So he tends to, this tournament he didn't do as well, but he tends to come out a little. So our older son went in there thinking, he's played his brother and his dad at home in a few chess.com things that he was going to walk out and be a star with a trophy like his little brother. And he took it, and as everyone in the room could see, he was in tears at one point. He was upset. Well, he was more upset when his brother beat him in the tournament.
Well, when you came out and you're like, oh, well, they're matched up against each other. Even I was just felt for you as a mom.
And I'll digress on that. I intentionally was going to put them in separate groups just to avoid that happening, because I know my middle son he's been training
Yes.
And both of them were very adamant they wanted to be in the same group. They didn't want to be separated. And I explained to them that this could happen. And they both went into it saying it's fine if it does. In hindsight, I probably wouldn't have let them, but we had a similar conversation about my oldest son was crying. I said, look at this though. Your final match was against a kid who, had a 600 plus rating.
Right.
He's way overrated than what, you're in the hundreds. That's a big
beginner
difference. I said, and you can't tell me that all these kids you're playing are doing all the activities you're doing.
Right.
Some of them, this is all they do. They go home, they play chess. This is their sport. They train, they go to clubs, they organizations. You can't expect the same output if you're not putting the same input in as those kids. I said, that's okay. This isn't about winning trophies. This is a cool thing to do that no one in our family has done. You are trying something new. You are growing. You're expanding your mind. Have it be a competition truly against yourself. Next time, try to win more. Try to do better than what you did. Try to, get pieces or pawns, or I'm not a chess player, but whatever those are. Sorry to anybody out there who is.
But I think too, and it's not to say, because I'm a competitor, and I like to win, and I'm hard on myself, and I set goals, and I go after them, and it's not to say that there wouldn't come a time where you would show up at a chess tournament, and maybe it would be upsetting because you were fairly matched, and there comes a time when you're ready to get out there and seek a challenge that appropriately fits you, where you could win, and then if you don't, maybe you feel bad, But in these beginning stages of just learning a new thing, and this applies to kids, but it also applies to everyone,
it does,
adults and everyone.
And things even more than just chess.
Yes.
Just trying something new. You're not always going to hit out of the park the first time you do it.
No.
Or the second or the third or the 12th or the 30th. You keep trying and learning and growing and developing. And, some of, the people, some of the quotes I follow, I'm big into motivational quotes, is you're going to learn more from losses than you are from wins. And that's what we keep trying to remind the kids is, you're not going to win every day. That's okay.
Yeah, that's hard for them with their little developing brains.
It is sometimes,
But even, that transitions to us as adults too, and talking about moms and finding something that we're interested in or getting back into something that's just ours. And that can be daunting.
It is,
You're at an age where now you're going to try something new, and sometimes we feel pretty confident that we could go out and do something because we have all this life experience. We've watched our kids learn things. We kind of understand. And then you try something and it doesn't work. That can be discouraging. But the message really should be, you're not going to be great at it the first time.
Don't give up.
And do it anyway. Do it anyway. Even if it's a colossal flop. You wouldn't have done it otherwise. You wouldn't have known what that experience is like, and you wouldn't be able to identify the things that you can do to improve it. And so that consistency over time and that pursuit is really important, I think, too.
And that's something I tell the kids, and I even tell, other moms that I talk to in conversations who are getting discouraged, and I was like, Rome wasn't won in a day, and look at your past, look at where you've gotten, in any career you've had, you didn't just walk out of high school and plop, land the job of your dreams, or plop, meet the man of your dreams, or it all takes work. Your kids didn't just come out of you walking and talking and getting A's on their tests.
Right.
It's all development and work and practice and training to get to, where you want to be, and successes and failures.
And that consistency too, just talking about the kids. Parenting, you weren't great at that on day one.
No.
Because you can't know. You can study. We talked about this the last show. You can study and watch and babysit and be involved with kids.
Yeah.
But now you're responsible for someone else's life, and that's just different. It's a different kind of it's a different kind of responsibility.
That's a lot of pressure.
It's pressure. You're being held to task. They hold you to task. You know what I mean? Like you have a new supervisor essentially, and they're going to let you know when it's not working out. And
unfortunately,
and you have to do it anyway. You have to do it anyway, and you have to be consistent, and you have to show up, and you have to want to do better, and you're not sleeping, and the angst and just the desire. You want them to have a good life, but also they need to be fed, and all of those different things, and you can get better at that. And then they change because they're developing, and so then you also have to change. And so as your kids become more self-sufficient, they still need you, just in different ways, but you may be gaining time for yourself and just trying to remember that, like, you made it this far in parenting. That was a consistent thing. You've done that for years, applying that same kind of commitment or consistency to something.
And life doesn't end when the kids grow and they don't need you anymore. That's a chance for you to learn new things. And I'll be honest, there's things I'm looking forward to doing when my kids get old enough that they don't need me for the day-to-day, or they move out of the house. And I'm like, all right, I've already got a list of things on my notes in my phone of things that I want to do someday in the future when I have more time on my hands to do it.
It's good to keep track of those things.
Yeah, a whole bucket list.
Speaking of your notes and your phone, we talked a little bit about this before we started here, but so organizing time and task. It's nice for people who struggle to do that, to hear how other people are staying on top of that. So how do you do that?
My Google Calendar.
Okay, yes.
I have, oh my gosh, if I had my phone on me, I'd show you. I have probably 20 color-coded calendars that are synced to activities, events, people. Each kid has their own calendar. Tony has his own, my husband, sorry, has his own calendar. My volunteer organizations have their own calendar. My work has its own calendar. I color code it all. I program, to-dos, what I have going on, preset dates and things I know I need to do. And I get up and the first thing I do every morning is I check my calendar. What do I have today? When do I have to be dressed by? Is this a shower early day or a shower later in the afternoon day?
No shower day.
No shower day. Is this a day where I have to be, meeting with teachers, meeting with, clients, meeting with work stuff, is this a day where it has to be heavy production, reading and fine print? So I live through it with my calendar. I've synced the calendars, at least the family and my husband's and the kids, up with his. So when I add things, it adds to his calendar so he can see what's going on. And the kids, actually, my oldest, Don't say it. It was emotionally a challenge for me to get over this hurdle because I'm not pro young kids having or cell phones.
I agree, yes.
But because of him riding the bus and concern about us being at the office and him missing the bus and not having a way to get hold of us, we did give him his own track phone.
He's 6th grade?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's kind of when we decided to.
When I was a school attorney, I saw way too many kids getting issues with cell phones, so I'm not pro it, but for purposes of, if he missed the bus after his activities and couldn't get home and the school office was closed, he needed a way to find us.
That's the same kind of timeline and same reasoning needed too.
But I put his calendar on his phone so it shows up what his agenda is each day. Our middle one, he has one of the Gizmo watches and it's got his calendar programmed in it. So I set appointments and it sends him a little alerts when he has things coming up.
They actually really love that.
Oh, they love it. And for the longest time, when we're moving away from it, I had actual hanging calendars in each of their rooms.
Yes.
And I'd go through at the beginning of each month and write what things I knew was coming up for that month so they kind of could keep track of their own schedules a little bit and put a lot of responsibility on them. I mean, granted, I still tell them, but
of course. But it teaches them.
It teaches them, this is what I have this day. This is my sports, this is my club, this is, But so it's chaotic, but we kind of try to manage it through colors and technology and syncing it all together as much as possible.
Yeah, that's great. And the other thing that does when you include the kids, it teaches them to organize their time. They also feel like part of the process then. They don't feel like just the person who's being told this is where you go, and then they have no idea, because we run into that too. It's like, well, what do I have today?
And it gives
what
them
do I
some
have
control over their lives. I think
because then they can try to make a little plan if they know they don't have something. And
I mean, a lot of times you'll see with kids when they're, fighting back and arguing with mom and dad, it's because things are so dictated for them that they feel like they have no say or control in their own lives. And especially as they get older, we all went through that when we were, teens and preteens, is you want to have more say in, what I want to wear, how I want my hair to look, what I want to do during the day. And at school, you have little control over your schedule and your work. And, you go to sports and the coaches tell you what to do. And, mom and dad, sometimes will dictate what you can wear. But it gives them that ability to feel like they have some ownership of it.
Right.
Which...
And you can even start that younger, too, just with choices.
Yeah.
So they feel like they have a little say in everything. Yeah. But everything isn't a choice.
Yeah.
That's the other tough thing as parents. It's like, well, I want them to feel autonomous. I want them to understand how to manage. But when they're 2, they don't understand you're giving them autonomy. On some basic level, it's like they're throwing a fit because they want something. Well, you can give them choices and you can do that over time. But there are times when the parents are saying, this is what we do. It's not that you don't matter, but you don't get a seat at the table on this one.
That's even when they're older. They may want, I'm just tired. I don't want to go to this sport tonight. I want to take practice off. I need a break, and it's helping them realize you made the decision to commit to this, so you're going to fulfill this obligation. Unfortunately, that is not a choice you can withdraw. That's a responsibility. But you have, this is the time frame. You can choose what you want to do before that and after that, or as much as possible.
And I think it sends the message too that you do always have a choice.
Yes.
It feels like people are forcing you, but people feel like they don't have a choice when they don't like the consequence of the choice they want to make. So it's hard to remember that. A lot of times people feel like they're just in a position where there's no way out or something like that.
Yeah, I get that.
Choices. Okay, so you mentioned volunteering.
Yes.
So because you have so much time. Although, if you want to find somebody who will help you do something, you should find a busy person because those people are involved in a lot.
Micro-organized.
Yeah, they'll find a way. And even if they can't help you, if you couldn't help me, I bet you know somebody, or I bet you have a connection, or so that's really something to keep in mind too, is if you need something, find a busy person.
And I think with moms, the challenge is not just finding them, but asking.
Yes,
I see a lot of moms who have a struggle of asking for help and reaching out and saying, hey, I'm overwhelmed, I'm overloaded, I need help. And that's something I think, a stigma that we need to get over and move beyond. It's okay to reach out to them and be like, hey, you've done this before, I haven't, I've seen it. How do I get help? Where do I go? What do I need to do?
Right.
Or point me in the right direction.
Yes.
And I don't know if I've ever had a mom when I've done that come back and say no.
Right. No.
They'll do it. They'll help. They may, at home be like, oh, I don't have the time or energy. They'll do it. And then afterwards, you're almost always like, I'm really glad I helped that person out.
Yes. Which is also funny because people will tell us as moms we need to learn to say no.
Yes. Oh, I say it to myself all the time.
We're not doing that. Yeah. It's such a, back and forth with learning, you should ask somebody because they won't say no.
Yeah.
You should say no to some things, so these conflicting messages and just figuring out when is it right. But it's almost always right to help somebody. Yeah. So, and I think moms know they want help sometimes too. And they don't do it selfishly. They're not thinking if I do this for her, she'll do that for me. No, it's just, I get it. I understand where you're coming from and let me do what I can.
Well, my husband tells me a lot of times, you can just say no. You don't have to take on all this stuff.
Yeah.
And when I say, well, I have the knowledge, I have the experience, and I have the ability.
Right.
And I can find the time to help.
Right.
And I know other people don't have that. So why would I want to say no when I can do something to positively impact someone that, you don't do it because it's going to come back and benefit you, but knowing that the help that it'll provide moving forward to others just by starting something or saying, I've had moms who've reached out and said, how do I do this calendar? I had a mom the other day was struggling getting her kids' sports calendar into her Google Calendar.
Oh, right.
I had her come over to my house and said, let's sit down and do this. I'm going to help you get it loaded up. I did one. I showed her how to do the rest. And it shaved off days off her time of having to handwrite it all and sync different calendars and match it all in individually. And it was just, taking 15 minutes of, not saying no, but knowing that it helped her, and now she can go show someone else how to do it. And
think of the exponential growth from that.
yeah,
Like just even the trajectory of her life and
Yeah.
the lives of her family members
Yeah.
just from that one
for
action.
like 15 minutes.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, it's wonderful.
It's worth it.
Yeah. And this is what we need to be doing for and with each other.
Lean on each other more.
Definitely. Okay, so talk to me about your volunteer, what you do. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? What you do for volunteer?
I can in some areas. So
Okay.
I do. My kids are, our boys are very involved in hockey. That's their number one sport. They do other sports, and I've dabbled with the other sports. I'm not quite there yet, but currently I do a lot of communication work for their hockey association.
Okay.
I do the social media. I do the newsletters. I help devise marketing plans, answer questions as they come in. I've been doing it for a long time. I volunteer. I'm on a volunteer committee for the school board. And then I'm also on a equity and inclusion committee at work.
Okay.
So I do a lot of trying to, a lot of my volunteer roles that I take on are trying to help communicate to people about opportunities that are available to them.
Okay.
And help people feel more included and more involved.
Okay, good.
One of my big missions that I do through my volunteer and through my kids is, people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
People don't know what opportunities are out there available to them. Helping
Resources.
them,
What
resources, helping them understand that, make that available, and then offering it to them. A lot of times I'll see both as a mom and sports and just the world in general, not every opportunity is made available to everybody, or
Right.
if it is, they're not aware of it. And so sometimes it's just about letting people know, hey, XYZ is here for you. Like, for example, in the hockey world, they have, a scholarship for low-income families. People don't always know that. So letting them know that. Or, hey, there's this resource out there in the state that they can help provide you with, extra benefits if you need it. Here's how to go to do it. Or the school policy, or the school committee I'm working on, this policy may be misinterpreted and people don't understand that this opportunity is available for their children because of the way it's worded. How do we rephrase it and get it out there so that people know that this is available for them? So that's...
And then even sometimes you can share that it's available, but...
And then showing them how to go get it.
Yes, because a lot of times it's like, well, there's this scholarship, but then that might feel daunting to somebody. It's like, okay, I know it's there, but what's the paperwork? What do I have to fill out? And
so that's what I do a lot of my volunteer, and is kind of the advocacy and the communication and helping people get the resources they need when they need it, if possible.
Yeah, you kind of do that. I mean, you do that in your volunteer, like official volunteer roles, but you also do that just in general in your life, and
you do that as a mom generally too.
Make these connections and help people understand where they can go. And
so that's kind of my passion projects.
You're involved in a lot. Are there other things you're involved in we haven't covered? Because I talk a lot about mental toughness and being able to go after something. Because you committed to it regardless of how you feel about it at some point. And you're involved in a lot. I'm a person who likes to be involved in a lot of things, a lot of spinning plates. That's very satisfying. It seems like you are that way too. Were you always like that? Were you like that before you were a parent, do you think?
Yes. I come from a long line of women. On my mother and my dad's side, I have grandmas who worked until their 70s and 80s, multiple jobs. My mom has always, been a superintendent, a leader in her field, and had side things on, things going on the side. So my great grandma worked until she was almost 80 back, when women really didn't work, they were in the home. So I come from a long line of women who have really been, managing the home and the work life and side projects as far back as I can remember. And even in the stories that I trace back, I'm big into genealogy.
Oh, yeah.
So I trace back a lot of that and I'm like, wow, these, they never really took breaks. They just kept going and going and going. So I think it's, kind of instilled in me genetically to do some of that, which sometimes can be a little exhausting knowing that you got the big shoes to fill.
For sure.
But the rewards behind it are
I think that too. I find it rewarding, but I also am, I'm a little freaked out by limited time.
Yes.
So I I just was at a speaking engagement last week, and I was talking to these, college athletes just about how, when you break it down, it's just really not a lot of time. Even if you get an extended, kind of a long, maybe you're a centenarian, maybe you live to be 100. I'm halfway there, and what else can I do? I don't want it to run out. And so I think a lot of times I'm trying to fill that time with things that I can produce that will be lasting and will outlast me. So write children's books or do this show or talk to people who, hopefully remember we had this conversation. And I too come from, families of women who pursued things and lived long lives and took care of themselves and the family. And that's so inspiring. And I think a lot of people don't have that.
No,
aren't fortunate to have that.
Yeah.
So again, this show is hopefully can be an example of how you can do those things. You don't have to have come from families like that. You can take who you are right now, hopefully learn some things from the show and what you have learned in your life and combine those things and, do things that matter and pursue things that are lasting.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And that's what, the late at night when I can't sleep and I'm scrolling online or doing even my own social media posts, the thing I'm always looking for is women trying to uplift others and provide, this is the stigma. Let's get over the stigma. Let's, focus on the reality. Let's build each other up. Let's be happy. Let's focus on the positive. And I think, that's something I just try to do in my personal life because it really is, if you want to leave something lasting behind, who can you help? How can you help? How can you build up the next generation to do more? And just keeping that, attitude going is, at least for me, it's been a personal mission.
Yes, and so important. And I think there are a lot of women out there doing that, regardless of, what their lot in life is. So this last book that I put out called I Could Lift the World, it's really based on that, doing one little thing for someone as you come across it. Because I think a lot of times we want to change things on a massive level.
Yeah, and that's not always realistic.
You can't do that.
No.
Most people don't have the resources to do that. So how can you do that in your own life? And it's really a little bit at a time. And so if you consistently do little things in your life to benefit the people around you, that may prompt them to do little things, or maybe they already are, but now their life is a little easier because of that. And hopefully the snowball effect of that is then you improve not just the people in your family, or your community, or your state, or your nation, or the world.
And then if you think about it, even as, a person, a woman, a mom, if somebody does something little for you, how good that feels. It's just the small things. Someone opens a door for you when you weren't expecting it, or someone, says a compliment to you. How warm that feels inside to turn around and, change that. And I think a lot of women, and moms in particular, get stuck in these stigmas. They see this in the TV shows, they see this in the movies, they read this in the books. This is what it has to look like. This is what I have to do. This is what, and that's not how it is. It's okay to, break the borders, chart your own path, help other people, let other people help you. It's okay to, not have to do everything that you see on social media or Instagram. It's not all real.
Right.
And I think a lot of women, going back to her saying it's okay to, ask for help. Like, how do I manage the schedule? How do I do this? Reaching out to someone. Women get in this such pattern that they see, media and saying this is what you have to do. This is the hats you have to wear. This is the path you have to take. This is the task or the job you have to do. Or you went to college, you got this degree, you have to have this job. Not you can use it and grow from it and develop from it.
Right.
And so many women get stuck in this and they think, I'm stuck in this pattern. I can't do this. It's,
I'm not enough.
I'm not enough. I would be frowned upon. People would judge me. People would critique me. I would lose friends. I think that's one I hear a lot of women say is, well, I can't do this because, people aren't going to want to, be social with me anymore, or it's going to impact me. If that's how it's going to be, then it's not worth it. Like, go do what, you feel right, what you need, what your family needs, what, if you have something in your heart or your soul is telling you, I need to do this, then go do it. And the consequences may be challenging, but you're going to survive them.
You're also going to have challenges anyway.
Yeah. I mean,
might as well choose what those are.
if you think about it, you've survived 100% of the challenges you've been faced so far in your life. There's not a single challenge in your life that you haven't survived. You're going to survive the rest.
Right.
Some may come, a little more work, and you may have to reach out and make new friends and meet new people to help you through it.
Right.
But I think that's something a lot of women and mom get stuck in, is the pigeonhole that they see all over out there in the world of what they can and can't do. And and it comes with even children. I've got moms all the time be like, I wish my kid could do this more activity, but they're an athlete, so they can't go do chess club, or they can't do math club. Well, yes, they can.
Right.
Challenge them to be more too. Or their chess and math club, they can't go do, they can't be an athlete. Or like with hockey, we have this try hockey for free. And people will be like, well, my kid's not a hockey player. Well, go try it, experience it. Why not take advantage of the opportunities when they're there?
What's funny about that is you're doing exactly to your children what you wish people weren't doing to you.
Yeah.
Putting you in a category or saying no because you're one thing.
Yeah.
You really don't know what things you are until you go out and try those things.
When you really don't know what you are until you're 90 and you've done it all. And then you're like, oh, that's what I was.
Yeah. Nice to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, okay. So why not try it, experience it, ask for help, forge the bonds as we're going through this, because we're all here to help each other.
And I think not just be the person should go ask for help, but also the person who openly
is willing to help.
Shows, I'm a person that's willing to help. Imagine if we could do that.
It would be a
whole
new world.
Moms. Yeah.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of moms out there, and I know from just conversations and listening to people is a challenge a lot of women have, is just that stepping out of the comfort zone. Too.
I, in doing my research and in even pursuing this and my books and stuff, I joined several groups on social media just to see what common themes were that moms were kind of talking about, struggling with. It's a lot. And I mean, these groups have thousands of people in them. So I feel like it's, worth sifting through some of that to see if there's some common themes. And I would say the overarching issue for women, just in what I've read through that, is feeling alone. Feeling alone, even among other people. Yeah. Even they're in a family and they have kids or a spouse or partner or whoever living with them, maybe a parent still or something like that, and they still feel alone. It's awful. It's
really funny you brought that up, because that's been something internally I've been dealing with, struggling with. We all have our ghosts that we're haunted with. And I've really been having a lot of, I won't say signs, but, and just, quotes and things coming up to me. That's been an internal struggle. It's a lot of women think, okay, I think that goes to being the alone feeling, is they feel like they have to have that best friend, or that they have to be the favorite friend, or the one who gets the first invite, or that tribe that they're always doing things with. And if they don't have that, they feel they're alone. If they don't have that girl who calls them every day for something, or that they can call. And realizing that you don't have to have that one person. You don't have to be the best person. You don't have to be the first person. You can have a tribe, and you can move within that tribe. I think a lot of women get this sense of feeling alone because they're like, oh, well, I see this, this other group of women, and they go on these trips all the time, or they're together all the time, and I don't have that, so something's wrong with me. I don't have the friends. But knowing it's okay to have different groups of friends, different tribes. It's okay to be the third person to get called, or it's okay to be the person that they come to when they want to talk to you, but you may not be the person they ask to go shopping. You may be the person they ask to go, for margaritas. Or you may not be the margarita. You may be the person they want to go to and sit by the pool or at a sports event and talk about. I think women get in this, it goes back to they have this stigma of what they see mom friend groups are supposed to be like, or mom social circles. And if they don't have that, they feel like something's wrong, I'm alone. And instead of realizing big picture, you have lots of friends, and they, you may not be able to hang out with them every single day, or they may be your hockey friends, they may be your baseball friends, they may be your your school mom friends. They may be your work mom friends. And they may not be the friend that you do everything with all the time, but it's okay to float between those, because that just helps you grow and helps them grow. But I think that's something a lot of moms, and and the research that I've seen is that it's a stigma that you get into, is you feel like I have to have this, and when you don't, you feel like something's missing.
Right.
And realizing that it's not missing, you just have to open your eyes that you truly do have more than you realize.
Right.
You just may not be realizing it because you're looking at what you think you're supposed to be looking at.
The other thing, those are all really good points. And the other side of that too is, I think it's okay to initiate something.
Yeah.
So when you feel like there's nothing, saying to yourself, what can I do about that?
Yeah.
Because there are so many times in life where we're relying on other people. Now, this is one of those conundrums, because we just talked about asking for help, and then it's like, okay, you can ask, but also you have a responsibility as an individual to own your existence. And if things are not going the way you want, you have some responsibility in that. And the blessing with that is you can do something about it if you own it. If you're waiting for everybody else to change it, or you're waiting for everybody else to ask you, or waiting for something to come along that meets what you thought you wanted, that leaves the control in everybody else's hands.
Exactly.
And then you become, sort of this victim. And I'm not saying there aren't women. I think there are many women who feel alone all the time, who even have friends, or they have a spouse, or it's just, being a mom is hard.
Yes, it is.
And sometimes if you don't, aren't able to connect with another adult that hears something, or you have something really pressing and you're not comfortable telling just whoever's in the vicinity, those things can make you feel alone. That's normal to a degree.
And it's okay to take the opportunity to reach out to find the help.
Right. And there are resources, and that's
a great example of that. I was going through this whole, like I said, it's been an internal struggle for me, is just trying to navigate, get outside of this perception of what, a mom's supposed to have. And you and I, we've been sports friends for, a while. And when you reached out about your opening party that we went to, I was like, oh, well, this, at first I was like, oh, it'd be so nice to stay home in my sweatpants.
Always.
And just hang out, have a, have a drink, sit on the couch, watch TV. And I was like, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and go. We're going to go, we're going to have fun, we're going to meet new people, try new things. And I think that was one of the greatest, I love it. It brought us here. I think it's the formation of a friend, even beyond the sports.
Right.
It's opening new doors, and it's just taking that chance. Sometimes it's so easy to sit back and say, oh, I'm not feeling it, or this is just too hard. I don't want to go do this, or I'm sad. XYZ isn't calling me to go, do something else. Well, then when you have another opportunity and our door opens, go through it.
Right.
If you're going to, avoid those opportunities, who knows? I mean, we wouldn't be here today potentially.
It's super easy to avoid them too.
It really is.
I mean, it really, that invite, it feels good, and then to a degree, it feels a little bit like a task or obligation, even if you're excited about it, even if you want to go do it, even if you can envision how great it's going to be. There's sometimes this pull that's like, well.
And it's so easy to be like, I'm so tired, I'm so overwhelmed, I've got so much going on.
Do I have it in me?
I don't want to do this. And then it's like, you know what? I put on the pants, get out of the sweatpants, put on a shirt, just go for an hour or two, go talk to people. You never know what's going to happen. And even at your event, there was, other sports mom friends who I've talked to loosely, and we've gotten together for coffee since then, because it was like,
that's
hey,
great.
We can talk outside of, outside of the baseball field or outside the hockey rink, and we have more in common than we realize. So we've got this ability.
And that was a local, launch party, but as the person hosting, looking through the list of people who were invited, I knew that every person there would have known another person in some capacity. And so that was comforting for me, because that, I invited a lot of people. Now, hey, if you want to challenge yourself, try to get like moms together on a weekend. I might rethink that in the future, but
And moms across a large group, not just moms for like one sports
it was so
team.
wild. And okay, so it's a weekend. It's one of the prime fall weekends, and just, sports, kids' sports, or just things people are involved in,
work.
football games that you want to, have season tickets to, whatever. So I was thrilled, for the people that came, and I think that was good for all of us to be women and moms in a room enjoying ourselves.
It was an awesome opportunity.
Yeah. No responsibility outside of just yourself for those few hours. I had a great time. I was so happy for the people that came. But to your point, you might have been home in your sweats and not have come to that.
And honestly, had I not done that, I probably would have gone, flipping back. Because, just like all moms, we always question ourselves. And I would have gone back and be like, oh, I have no one to hang out with tonight or this weekend. Like, this really sucks. Like, I'm feeling lonely. I feel like I need another mom. And the door was presented. I took it. And it's so many more opportunities. And it, and I get moms can be like, oh, I opened the door and now I'm overwhelmed by too many opportunities. It's okay to tell another mom too, hey, I need a day off.
Right.
Like I've got friends who've reached out and said, hey, let's go to this. I said, hey, you know what? I've just got a lot going on right now. Can we take a rain check for like next month on XYZ date when I know?
Calendar. Yeah.
It's really sad. Let me look when our next free non-hockey game day is or practice.
Yeah, it's tough to find time. But I will say, as kids get older and you gain some of that time back, they become more independent. Those holes in your calendar open up a little more.
And then you'll look back and miss some of this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep my kids young. They're not. And I just keep trying to make them. And, they don't think that's great parenting.
The whole cliche, don't blink, because they're going to be growing and you're going to miss these moments.
Yeah.
And I hate saying that because you hear that from the day you have a child. Yeah. Don't blink. They're gonna you're gonna miss this age. You're gonna miss this. Yeah. But it really is true.
It is true, and it doesn't mean it's not hard.
No, it doesn't mean it's not hard.
When they say don't blink, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean everything. You have to dress everything up as like this experience that you love. If there's a tantrum being thrown, that's not lovely, but you have an opportunity to help guide your child so that when they're 10 years from now, they're not laying down throwing the same tantrum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So much of that is perspective and how you frame things up. And look, you're human, and your kids are going to get under your skin. And, you have to have those things that help you parent, that you bounce things off of, like a tantrum. Yeah. Okay, am I going to overreact? Am I going to step away? What is my process here? Because it's so important for you to deal with that, but it doesn't make it pleasant. And you may say, I never want to do that. I never want them to do that again, but
it won't be that way.
You will. You do want, Well,
and the don't blink doesn't mean you have to love every moment either.
No,
there's days
it's hard.
When you say don't blink, there's days you can hate. There's days you can not want to live again. There's days you can wish that won't happen again. That's part of this mother thing. And I think that's another challenge moms get all the time is to hear this, you have to cherish every moment. And they feel like they can't have days that they're not enjoying
allowed.
it.
Yes, not allowed to say what bothered them.
Yeah, yeah, and it's okay. And I mean that's something I get criticism sometimes from people about how open and discussion I am and with our kids because we were talking earlier. I talk to my kids sometimes like they're adults.
Oh, for sure.
And I say this is how mommy feels. This is what mommy needs. This is mommy needs this time. Mommy is not happy because of this, or mommy just needs space from you for a little bit, and then we can regroup because this is how mommy's emotions are, and helping them realize it's okay to, not have, the Instagram family or the Instagram house or Instagram life every day of the year.
Yeah.
It's okay to have those moments.
And it helps your kids better understand why you're exiting the room. If you just leave.
Yeah.
That's scary for your child, maybe. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they're glad. Yeah. But to explain to them why you left, that helps them learn about emotions and how their interactions, affect. So everything, there was a point where my second daughter was like, please don't make this a life lesson. Because I would just, I was trying to take every opportunity to prepare them, to explain, and that was a lesson for me. It's like, okay, am I overwhelming them with you know, what I'm trying to prepare them with. So
Excuse me.
that's okay. So it just depends on how you frame things up. But you're right, it's hard. There are hard days. One thing that I appreciate about you too is you laugh about the things that your kids do.
Oh my gosh, they're crazy.
You know, you're realistic about it, and it's not malicious. It's not pointing at them and making fun of them or something like that. It's just like sometimes the absurdity of what just happened, and we have to laugh at it, and it's silly, and you're okay doing that, and I love to do that too. And I don't think everybody's comfortable doing that, or they feel like, you know, someone might think they're being mean or whatever, or their kids aren't, you know, these perfect kids.
I definitely do not have false expectations with my children.
Same, yeah.
I mean, as you saw at the chess tournament, my 9-year-old he was done at one point and he just started running circles around the room.
Yes.
And I was like,
he was unleashed.
I was like, okay, this is how, and I'm, you know, time and place. I wasn't going to chase him down and ring him in. I was like, dude, just you do you, and we'll discuss the pros and cons of your choices later, I guess.
And sometimes I want to run around the room.
Yeah.
You know?
Or like my 5-year-old, who we jokingly sometimes say he's a little bit feral. He's got high energy, and he just runs loose sometimes, and it's...
But it's almost always funny. Universally funny.
Yeah. He is, a lot of parents get a chuckle out of him.
Think of him lifting the world just with his little smile and his antics and what he's doing. It's great.
He's going to be trouble someday. He knows he's got that smile and the looks, and he uses it to his advantage currently.
He does. But he's very sweet, so that's good. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
There's more to talk about, but before we wrap up, you know, is there anything that we haven't touched on that I think you've given a lot of good messages to moms to make them feel not alone, and given them some, I would say, advice, suggestions, ideas for getting out there and being part of the scene and taking the chance. And is there anything else you want to say that you think might bring value to anybody really watching this?
I mean, I would say find something that inspires you. Find something that, you know, besides just your kids, that, you know, gets your heart an extra little pump. Beside your husband, beside your job, find something that, you know, like for me, part of my inspiration is quotes. I love motivational quotes.
Yes.
And I have a little calendar on my windowsill above my sink. I switch it each day. It gives me a new motivational quote. And every day I'm like, okay. It's just a little extra spark.
Yes.
Something that it's not a big commitment. It's not my spark is I have to find 30 minutes to go work out. I have to figure out. It's just a little spark that gives you a smile. Something that just, you know, it could be a rough day. Something that gives you that little smile. Because really it all starts with your personal attitude. Take ownership of yourself. You know, love yourself. Be proud of yourself. Find that spark. And then you can go out and figure out how to do the rest of it.
That's very good. I heard too, speaking of motivational quotes, you know, you should treat yourself the way you treat the person you love the most. You know, so if you think about the person you just love so much, and then if you could find a way to love yourself like that. Well,
if you don't honor, respect, and love yourself, why should anyone else?
And it's very hard to do that for other people if
really is.
If you can't.
Yeah.
So
find your spark, and don't be afraid to ask for help, and look for moms, and find your, not just your one crew, find lots of crews.
Yeah.
Find lots of, your girl gang.
Yeah.
Make them many, make them diverse.
And if you can't, you can find Colleen.
Or find us
here.
She
is helpful, as we have learned. So thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
so
glad to be here.
Yes, and maybe come back. We have
definitely.
lots more to talk about. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to keep your own perspective, but step into the perspective of others. Be resilient, come out of the things that are challenging, and show up again another day, and pursue, pursue, pursue. You are not alone. You are in a club of 2 billion people around the world, and as moms, we're here to support you. Thank you.